today from New York City, and I'm delighted to welcome you to this special LinkedIn Live session. We're live on the Climate Group channel in a week that's dedicated to the built environment in the run-up to Climate Week NYC. We're less than 6 weeks away now from the main event. In September, heads of government and leaders from the world of business, technology, academia, and civil society will once again convene in New York to share ideas, challenge, create, collaborate, and energize. Organized by the Climate Group, Climate Week NYC is a world-leading global climate event and the biggest of its kind. Some of the major challenges of our time are being discussed in New York, and lots of people are very excited that the built environment is a highlighted theme of this particular year's edition. The way we design, create, and use physical spaces is at the center of the global emissions challenge and sustainability more broadly. It's also part of the solution. But what will be key if we're going to build and manage our buildings better? My name is Andrew Eil, and I'm an independent consultant and angel investor working to commercialize climate change technologies and to support early stage innovation. I'm delighted to be joined by 3 leading experts in the field, each of whom brings firsthand experience and deep expertise, as well as a forward-looking mindset to the challenges and opportunities in the built environment space. As audience members, you should feel free to join the conversation in the comments, in the chat. We'd love to hear your thoughts, responses, and predictions. Now, let's move on to introducing our panel. With me today is first Sid Singh. Sid is the CEO of Verifi, a global climate and construction tech venture-backed company by Saint-Gobain, and it focuses on decarbonizing the concrete value chain. We also have Jean-Simon Venne, who's the founder and president of BrainBox AI. Jean-Simon leads the development and deployment of cutting-edge artificial intelligence solutions for the built environment. We're also joined by Stefan Mager. Stefan is head of infrastructure, energy, water, and transport at GIZ, the German National Development Agency, and is a member of the steering committee of the Partnership for Energy Efficiency in Buildings. So without any further ado, let's dive right in, get to know our panels, and get into the substance. So Sid, I would love to start with you. Could you please tell us a little bit about yourself and your work at Verifi and how you're developing technology in the built environment and specifically in the concrete value chain?
Sure. Thanks, Andrew. And thanks for having me. Excited to be a part of this panel and very excited to also be part of the Climate Week in 6 weeks' time. My own journey has kind of been in and around the infrastructure space since as long as I can remember. I've been in different roles, investing from a private equity lens into, airports, roads, heavy infrastructure, civil projects in the Asia Pacific market when I was based in Singapore. I've also been an investor like yourself, a VC investing into smart mobility and smart infrastructure companies. Spent a number of years, most recently working with BCG as part of their venture building team, building and scaling startups. Lots of 0 to 1s in the renewable energy infrastructure construction tech spaces. So there's a lot of exciting stuff that has been happening in the built environment when it comes to technology, and that's what brought me to Verifi. Verifi is really a leading player when it comes to addressing a significant emissions challenge when it comes to how might we think about reducing the amount of cement that goes into concrete. A lot of people don't know that after airline transportation and steel, cement is the third largest component for global emissions. It's also the biggest component of most built environment projects. So it's a significant problem. And with Verifi, what we do is we're working with ready mix companies, concrete producers, to see how can we optimize the different mixes that they use to design and build these different structures. As global supply chains get disrupted, there's a lot of material variability that's coming in as well. There's a lot of alternate cementitious materials that are coming into play as well. And Verifi's technology allows our partners to deal with that variability, to still have assurance that they're building structures that are going to last for decades. So that's a bit in a nutshell of what we do with Verifi.
Very exciting. So, does that mean your clients are the actual construction companies who are using this variety of alternative cements?
Yeah, so it's a very interesting question. In the US, we are working directly with ready mix producers, so the suppliers to these large construction projects. But in other countries, we go directly with the developers of these assets. To give you an example, I'm based here in London, and one of our landmark projects is the High Speed Railway 2 project that's being constructed between London and Birmingham. It's a big mega project, many billions of dollars, and Verify system is used to provide quality assurance for a large amount of concrete that's poured on that mega project. So in that case, we're working directly with the developers of that asset to provide them with the assurance that for such a high stakes, high strength, construction environment, they are working with the right materials and the right kind of strength properties.
Hmm. Fascinating. And for those in the audience who are unfamiliar with the specifics of cement and concrete, could you perhaps give a couple of examples of what some of these alternatives are to standard, say, Portland cement, and what some of the benefits and challenges are of using these substitutes?
So, I mean, we see a lot of alternative materials, especially coming up, especially in Europe. So, GGBS, so it's an alternate cementitious material leveraging a blast furnace slag as a substitute into the mix. What happens is, at the most basic level, when you look at the science of it, you're mixing water with the cement and adding some aggregates, and voila! After a few hours to a few days, you start having concrete. Now, the challenge is when there is a direct correlation in the amount of cement that you put into concrete and the strength that you get with that mix that you're designing for a specific type of construction. With cement production kind of becoming global and decentralized, it becomes doubly important for folks who are deploying these mixes on sites and on projects to be able to know exactly how these changes in their mixes are going to perform. To give you an idea, 50 or 60 years ago, a typical construction project might have had between 10 to 20 different mix designs that they're working with. Now we have customers, producers who are working with cement who have thousands of recipes that they're dealing with. So when you're adding that complexity, because there are many different input source materials that are coming in, how do you deal with that? And we have a tech platform that helps them deal with that variability.
Thank you so much, Sid. Really looking forward to drilling deeper into that. But let me turn now to Jean Simon. Jean Simon, can you tell us a bit about yourself and BrainBox AI, and what is this? What are these key points of interface between AI and the built environment that you're focused on?
Yeah, absolutely, Andrew. So when you look at the built environment on our planet, we're anywhere in between 3 to 4 billion building that already exist on our planet, and they consume on a daily basis about 1/3 of the energy of our planet to maintain their operation, and most of that energy is going into maintaining the desired temperature or humidity level, so people are comfortable or goods are kept at the right temperature. Think of refrigeration as an example. And really, these buildings are not operated today at the optimal level. So how can you use AI tool? That's what BrainBox did. Is like, can we use AI technology to move these buildings from a reactive control, which is more like there's something going on that we don't like, and the control in place react to it to make the correction, and that instead of following that kind of reactive control thesis, we're going to use a predictive capability of a neural network on AI and using that prediction to do predictive control and shave some of that energy being consumed every day by the building. So we've been like deploying this technology now in over 15,000 building around the planet, and we're shaving up to 25% of the energy consumed every day by this building. But most interestingly, is the multi-objective capability of AI is also able to not only save money for the CFO of the building, but also reduce a lot the emission. And funny enough, we're shaving more emission and percentage, and we're saving dollar in energy. So emissions, sometimes we could reach up to 40% emission reduction on a building. So we're kind of chasing these multi-objective using AI tool to optimize the way these buildings are operated on a daily basis.
Really interesting. So, are you focused on a particular segment of buildings that the AI and the machine learning is particularly adept with? Or can you take any building? It doesn't matter, commercial, residential, industrial, and the AI will figure it out.
There's no real limit on the type of building. It's more a question of business priority. So we're focusing more on the commercial side. There tend to be bigger building than the residential, and you're going to save a lot more emission by modulating an airport instead of a small houses in the suburb, right? So uh, the install effort is giving you a lot more big bang for the buck if you're doing a large building and a small one. So we're doing commercial building as an entire spectrum. So it goes from a small store, corner store, retail, very small, like 10,000 feet square, all the way to large airport where it's millions of square feet. So that is keeping us busy right now. There's a lot of these building on the planet.
Gotcha. Really, really interesting. So, could you mentioned both emissions and savings, right? Or I suppose they're three separate issues, right, that are interlocked but not quite the same. There's emissions reduction, there's reduced use of energy, and then there's the reduced savings associated with that energy or other operations, right? Could you tease apart a little bit for me? Why would those be different, right? Why are you achieving higher emissions reductions than dollar savings from a percentage standpoint?
Yeah, what's pretty cool with AI techniques is you could basically come in and try optimize several parameter at the same time, and that's what AI is very good at, and that's really what human are not very good at, right? Like when we try to optimize more than two parameter at the same time, our head become very clumsy at doing the right thing, and especially if you're doing it in real time. Um, so what AI is very good at, and actually that's why you should never play chess with AI, is because it's really looking at all of the possible permutation and looking what is the impact on all of your objective, and finding on that kind of, if you're familiar with the Pareto front optimization, it's finding the point on the curve where you should go right now to get the biggest impact on all of your objective at the same time. So of course it's a give and take, right? You cannot win on all the lever. You have to give and take. But I'll give you one example where it's very easy to understand. Like in Ontario, Canada, the time of day is very important on the rate that you're going to pay for that kilowatt, but also the source of where that kilowatt was manufactured. So it tend to be like in Toronto in the morning, it tend to be very green. And so you're going to save, if you save that kilowatt in the morning, you're going to have a certain impact on the emission. The same kilowatt in the afternoon tend to become very dirty. So you want to save the dollar for that kilowatt, but you also want to pick when you're going to save it to have the biggest impact on the emission side of that equation. And of course, that's why you saw very often you're getting a higher percentage of emission saved versus the percentage of dollar saved. Because depending when you do it, you're saving a lot more emission than the dollar.
Thank you for that explanation and teasing those apart. Really fascinating how many parameters there are to optimize and how much opportunity there is to drive improvement with AI to optimize. So, uh, thank you for that. I'm terrible at chess, so I'm not going to go anywhere near AI and a chessboard. Though I have to say, in my checkered past, I have studied some economics, so I do know a bit about Pareto optimization, for better or worse. So, Stefan, I'd love to turn to you now. And if you could share a bit about your perspective, right, and what GIZ is doing in the space, what you see as the main opportunities and sort of the drivers of your engagement, and what are you seeing that's exciting? Oh, Stefan, you're muted. Let's if you could hit the mute button, the unmute button first, and restart. It looks like we're having an issue with the audio. Let's see if we can troubleshoot that, and we will come right back.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you, Stefan. So
Yeah.
sorry
It
for
was human
that technical
troubleshooting,
glitch.
no AI troubleshooting, just switched some microphones. Okay, no, but coming back to your question, thanks for that, and thanks for having me here. We as GIZ, we work globally on the topic of energy efficiency in buildings, especially, of course, in the global south. Yeah, as a development organization, we see ourselves as a European implementation organization, and one of our flagship programs you might have heard of, and we are very happy to gather with you to be there at Climate Week in New York with PEEB, which is a Team Europe approach, because it's co-financed by the French and the German government. It's implemented by the Agence Française de Développement, yeah, the AFD and GIZ jointly. And it's also mixing technical assistance and financial cooperation. And what we see as two challenges which we are working on in the global south is, of course, the tremendous speed of construction. Yeah, everywhere. I think we will see enormous increase of floor space in. I mean, already we see it, but it's speeding up, and we need to do something about that. And what we also see on the other hand is the issue lack of finance, because energy efficiency always is a little bit more expensive than business as usual, especially when it comes for initial capex, right? And there are some solutions for that. And one of the major solutions is, and that's what we are tackling, is first regulation. Regulation is key. If you have levelized market conditions for everyone, also for those who upfront want to invest a little bit more to save money later on by efficiency measures. If that is properly regulated and there is some sort of threshold what you need to do as a construction company, of course, then you have the chance that these long-term benefits of energy efficiency are kicked in mandatory, and therefore we are working on regulation in all these partner countries we work with. And the second one, we know, there is this issue of exploding costs in the construction sector for all these things, resources. We all know the story, and then of course it is based also then on the connection to UNFCCC, COP, and all these things, that there is a responsibility of the global north to support financially the global south, and there help to bridge that gap between business as usual and energy efficiency measures, and coming in with public funding and climate finance basically in these countries, and hopefully being able to tackle then the issue of having more energy efficiency in buildings by regulation, but also by lowering a little bit the costs with climate finance. Yeah.
So in terms of the focus on the global south, you mentioned a couple of features that first of all, there's this cost sensitivity. There may be challenges with capex, right? Mobilizing the financial capital for construction. You also mentioned simply the pace at which the global south is growing and building new structures, new buildings, and so those are a couple important distinctions from most developed economies. What is the implication of that in terms of driving efficiency and sustainable practices? So you mentioned you're trying to put in place these first regulations. Do you find that is an effective lever? Does it need to be paired with the climate finance you were talking about? I'm just curious if there are a couple key points that you might sort of tease out of where the opportunity is, or what is the challenge that necessitates GIZ focusing on this issue.
Yeah. Maybe let's pick cooling as an example. Yeah. We see tremendous increase of the demand for cooling for decent living conditions. Yeah. If you look into IEA numbers on what are the drivers for global electricity demand, it's basically cooling, and to some extent then also, of course, AI and all the things related to that. Now, especially then in the building sector, you can tackle cooling from two sides. You can, of course, have the the cooling by air conditioning, or you can use proper measures in construction to lower the need for cooling. Yeah, you don't need a fully like a multi-story building full of glass in the global south. There are other ways to construct it. Yeah, and what is striking is that in many situations, many countries, easy things can be done by drawing the roof in different color. For some reasons, they're usually in dark color, the roofs. If you put bright color, that is an easy measure to lower down. Window shading, very easy measure. Also, of course, insulation. So this passive insulation or this passive cooling is something, and this is something you can put very easily also then in building codes and all those things and make it mandatory to do so. Again, it's sometimes more expensive, but then climate finance kicks in. And what we see in our partner countries, when we, and this is I think the success factor of that approach of having TA and financial cooperation at the same time, that you say, okay, guys, we work with you for 2-3 years on regulation. And then when the regulation is in place, the money, the finance, the climate finance that could cap a little bit the costs for your be it public hospitals, schools, administrations, municipalities that have to do these investments to cut their costs by supporting them with grants. This is convincing to the partner countries, and I mean, sounds very obvious to us, but it's working. It takes a little bit of time, but tackling this issue from that side is very worth doing it, and therefore we push for that and are happy to have PEEB working exactly that way that I described.
Thank you for that. I think the issue of cooling is so important, and it's one that I focus on myself professionally amongst the most among others because it touches on so many human needs and is such an opportunity for efficiency and for performance improvement. Also, of course, very tied into climate change itself from both an emissions reduction and adaptation perspective. So we're drawing near the end here. So I think I'd like to do a couple of very quick lightning rounds here on two topics we're hoping to touch on before we close. The first is AI, and the second is trends. So I think we'll go around the virtual table here and get as far as we can. So back to you, Sid. So you mentioned how in the cement space, you're working both with the providers, the suppliers of cement. You're also working with the developers. We didn't really get as much into the technology, right? I'm guessing that there is an AI piece to it. Perhaps there's also a sort of remote or in situ sensing piece. Could you talk a little bit about the technology and what does the AI revolution mean for you and Verifi and your market?
No, absolutely. I mean, and indeed, we didn't really touch upon the technology behind what we are doing. We are an IoT platform, so we've got in situ monitoring on ready-mix trucks. So essentially, we're monitoring all of the properties of concrete while it's being transported from production onto a job site. And workability of concrete alongside the maturity of concrete are the two fundamental building blocks in a developer being able to then have confidence in the quality of the end product. So we're touching upon one of those key points. With there's a lot of data that we're gathering, as you can imagine. Verifi has been around for more than 10 years at this point. We have more than 5,000 trucks active globally. So there's lots and lots of data that we've gathered. At this point, I believe we've gathered more than 1 billion data points around concrete behavior in different conditions, temperature, locations, moisture levels, and how different design components perform in different kind of environments. So we've been frankly doing AI since AI was being called AI in the same way. So there's a lot of kind of autonomous behavior change that comes into our system. What we do is essentially create a feedback loop where we are providing feedback through the system to the producer to make better decisions. So they can think about how can they optimize their mixed designs. How could they think about from a batch to batch, think about improving the next load of concrete. So getting real time feedback and connecting. I was very intrigued to hear what Jean-Simon was talking about, connecting value and sustainability together. That's exactly what we do, because sustainability and climate benefits don't need to come at the expense of real business impact, and that's true for Verifi as well. If you can get cement out of your mixed designs, then it's a direct business impact as well, because your cost of procurement comes down while being more eco-friendly. So essentially, there's a lot of feedback loops that are, we have neural networks on that help with that. There's a lot of interesting use cases that are coming up in the industry, thinking about how might you use in-transit workability data from platforms like Verifi to make better batching and production decisions. So further back in the value chain, where there's a lot of material key and large scale material decisions being taken, how can you inform those decisions with real time data at the right time, because the decisions are being made on a day-to-day basis, within the hour. So getting the information processed across a bunch of different parameters, and then providing the right action and the insight to the right person, it becomes important. And that's what we were touching upon with Verifi.
Thank you so much for that, Sid. And it's exciting to see that with the AI revolution, there is this close tie between performance improvement and sustainability outcomes. And so maybe, Jean-Simon, you can sort of take us home, pulling the thread on that point a little bit. Being really a native AI business with BrainBox, what are you seeing in terms of adoption trends, and how are your customers evolving, and how does that potentially make it easier to bring this technology to market?
Yeah, so it's interesting, right? Because the kind of huge wave of AI triggered by the LLM GPT that started about 2-3 years ago is kind of putting AI back on the agenda, and people are saying, okay, I need to have an AI strategy. I need to basically use AI. Um, and there's a discussion about, okay, we use AI to increase productivity. We could use AI to optimize my asset and the way I'm using them. Um, and then it kind of triggered the little discussion that nobody really was aware of, which is, well, if you want to do AI, you need to have data. And then people look at their assets saying, well, oh, wait a sec, my asset is already generating data, but it's at the equipment level. It's at the controller level. It's kind of crystallized there. It's kind of locked there. And you need to connect these equipment to extract the data, to get access to that data, so you could then use the AI different tools to play with that data and generate value with it. So the what's happening now is like kind of the wake up call, saying, okay, wait a second, I got trucks, I got buildings, I got equipment, and they all have already embedded control, which is generating ton of data, but we never really captured that data. And now it's okay, let's connect them, let's extract, harvest that data, so we could then play with that data and generate a lot of different value. So that's what's happening right now. Like a lot of building owner, a lot of building operator, which are looking and okay, I need to connect all my equipment, so I could basically harvest that data and then start to use these different techniques to create value. So of course, it's plumbing work, right? If you want to connect a boiler and get the data from the controller on that boiler up to the cloud, it's piping. So you need to really connectivity, and so not very glamorous work, very far from AI neural network, but an essential piece. So that's kind of the race that's happening now, and it's happening at a speed that we've never seen before. So building being connected, truck being connected, the city buses being connected, because we all want the data and start to play and use the data to create value. So it's happening at a massive scale, and it's fascinating, and it's going to accelerate the value we could create. So for me, it's giving me a very high hope that once we're freeing up that data, we'll be able to really have a big impact on reducing the emission, because we're going to finally optimize all of these equipment.
I'm grateful, Jean-Simon, that you and Sid both really emphasized data and Internet of Things for collection of that data as the grist for the AI mill, right? That really makes it work and drives its value. So unfortunately, that is all the time we have today. I'm looking at the clock here, so we'll have to bring
Andrew, can I
Oh, yes, please, Stefan.
Yes,
Please feel free to
because
jump in with the last
this
word.
would be a wonderful full thing for me to connect to what has said on data.
Please go right ahead.
We want this data too. We want it too. And we want it specifically for one purpose. We want to show international development banks and also local financial institutions, local banks, somewhere in the global south, to have access to the data to see how much money saving they can do. Because they don't, they don't know the business models, they don't know the numbers, and we need to show them. So please, whenever you have your devices put somewhere, please give access to at least the global south to learn from the savings and what it means in profits, because this is the only way to convince all the investors to move in higher upfront capex to save money later. It's not trusted yet, and we need this specific data. And we can shake hands there on that topic and can finish very much on that note. Thank you very much.
Thank you for that, Stefan. The proof is in the numbers and data-driven decision making. So I think that's so critical for really raising that confidence and conviction to invest in these new solutions. So with that, I think we can bring today's event to a close. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Terrific conversation. Huge thanks to our three panelists, Sid, Jean-Simon, and Stefan, for sharing these terrific insights. And we look forward to having you back to the Climate Group LinkedIn channel on Friday for more insights and thought leadership on the built environment. Lastly, please do make sure to follow All Things Climate Week New York City. It's a key moment globally for shaping corporate and political thinking and decision making in this coming month and in the years to follow. So thank you so much, everyone. Great panel, and have a great day.
Thank you very much.